wanted to go upscale from what the mini brute was. And so my original concept with doing an upscale mini brute was to do something with a lot of patch panels. And we wanted to have it where you could plug it into Eurorack gear, make it where it was all compatible. So my first idea was, that I brought to the engineering team was, okay, so I want a field of jacks, and I want to be able to plug cables in, but then I want it to be programmable. So we talked about ideas about, maybe we'll use TRS cables for our own stuff, and we'd write a digital signal on the back of the sleeve on the thing, and then we could read that, and then we could know where they were and make a programmable patch bay. But then at the same time, you could just plug regular CV gate cables into the thing and use it. And that idea kind of went for a while, and then one of our engineers discovered a chipset that we could actually do the analog routing and actually do the analog voltages that you require. So it's kind of almost the chip really is an analog switching system, and it allows the full analog ranges. And he said, well, I found this chip and it's not really designed for this, but we think we can turn it into something that's going to make it work for that. And they were able to. So
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the voicing of the whole thing as well. Like, what would you say makes this unique tonally?
Well, tonally what makes this unique is kind of our brute oscillator. And this is the stuff that we had originally worked out with on the mini brute with Yves Son and our lead engineer, Bruno Pillet. And so you can actually mix waveforms. There's a lot of sense that it's, I choose either the saw or square or both. This you can actually blend them all in. And then we also have all of our wave shapers. So we've got typical pulse width, but then we have a fold back thing on the triangle that gives us our metallizer.
Yeah, the wave
and then we have our super saw or ultra saw kind of duplicator thing as well.
Are these all modulatable as well? They can be modulated in...
Every knob on the front panel can be routed into the modulation matrix.
Okay, wow.
So we had 16 by 16, so we kind of picked and chose our favorite things that we wanted to do. But then we made 4 of them here that are assignable. So, and you've got this e-ink display. So I can always, hit a button, turn a knob, and then it assigns that one channel to whatever that knob is. So I can make it go to the analog delay, LFO to analog delay time or something crazy.
So speaking of delay, can you tell more about the sort of, it's a BBD, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's full bucket brigade device.
And what chip is it? What sort of,
I don't know the chipset that they used. One of our engineers, Terry, he was the guy who kind of found the chips and started working on that. So a lot of that's his design. He's our other analog engineer that we have. We kind of tried to keep it to standard, a stereo delay, a mono delay, a chorus, a flanger. But then Terry came up with this thing. We have it labeled reverb. We're probably going to change the name of it in the final production. But it's kind of an analog reverberator using bucket brigade devices. So what we've done is he came up with this thing where he takes each stage of each bucket brigade and he puts a different time delay on each and every stage. And when you start to fold them back with all these weird time delays in there, then you get this real, it's an analog reverb. It's reverb-y, but it's analog, so it's its own sound.
It reminded me, the whole thing reminds me of the VCS3, obviously. But also when you were I was trying it with the reverb-y sound, and it's, suddenly when you've got a ton of modulation, and you've got that kind of slightly bonky kind of reverb, it's so tonally we get into like synthy territory. But
I love it.
How long can the delay time be as well? Can it do kind of quite long repeats, or is it?
No, because it's bucket brigade devices, you're limited to how long they can be. You can stack more and more, but then the price goes up and up and up. So, you can hear this. That's on the stereo delay. And switch to the mono. And you can hear it's a lot longer.
Slightly longer time, Has the filter changed at all as well? Also, from the mini brute, is it technically a different filter?
No, it's Steiner Parker? It's very much a different filter. What we've done, we took the original Steiner Parker and that we consulted with Niall on the original Steiner Parker on the Mini Brute.
Yeah.
But the Steiner Parker was always a 12 dB per octave filter.
Yeah.
So we chained two of them together in here to get a 24 dB per octave. So now we've got a steeper slope. It gives the Steiner a very different sound. You know, before it's a unique sound on its own, but now it takes on a whole new character with the 24 dB per octave slope on it. You know, things like the resonance peaks and the way that it sweeps
super
are
aggressive.
very different. It's even more aggressive.
Yeah.
So.
But you've also got drive, and I guess this is so. Yeah, you're driving into the filter presumably, because that's not a control that's on the Mini Brute. I mean,
No, that's not on the Mini Brute. Actually, on the Mini Brute, each of the oscillator levels, when you get them above about 70%, then it drives each of the oscillators.
That's true, yeah.
You can drive the filter based on your input gain staging from the oscillators themselves, but we wanted to put a separate drive on the filter. Yeah. And then we did, of course, kind of the classic ladder filter.
Yeah.
To give it a whole different personality, and that's something that we haven't had on any of our synths before. And even the ladder filter, we kind of blew it out, because traditionally it was a 24 dB per octave filter. We've also given a 12 dB slope as well, and we did a low pass, high pass, band pass modes on it. And again, the drive and a brute factor.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, we've kind of done the ladder filter in our own way, once again.
That thing of gain staging, I think, is going to be quite important for people working with it. It's almost, as I was playing around with it, my own reaction was, it was definitely one of those synths where there's so many places to explore. You need to be careful with almost not overloading everything. And
well, that's the one thing. I mean, because you can blend all the oscillators here, you can end up driving a real hot signal out of the oscillator, then into the mixer, and you can drive it even hotter. You know, when you have multiple inputs here, and then you have the drive on that, and then we have a back-end output level on the filter.
Yeah.
So we've got multiple places where you can either drive it harder or pull it back to keep the sound cleaner.
As a sort of synth player, what have your reactions been to it? You know, you're not just a designer; you are using these things.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a user. Well, I mean, it's kind of for mono synth, it's kind of my dream mono synth. You know, I've been doing synthesizers since 1980. I've got a huge collection of vintage synths myself. You know, there's bits and pieces of this that I kind of stole from things that I own. You know, there's hints of Prophet 5 in the audio mod section. You know, there's the sub oscillators and things. We really like those off of the Brutes, but also off of things like the SH101.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of influences from all these great synths over these years, and tried to pull them all together. And we've got some great engineers and other people that were able to pull them off and come up with their own ideas and say, hey, what if we could do this? You know, what if we could do that? It's like, we kind of kept going, okay, sure, sure, oh, you can do that? Cool, do that. These are actually the first handmade samples of the things.
Yeah.
So the finals will actually even be nicer looking than this. These are all handmade prototypes. So the finals, the HMS handmade samples, they never look anywhere near as kind of good as the production ones. So, I mean, and this one looks beautiful. So it's like, okay, you're gonna make it look better than this. You know? But yeah, I mean, we've got firmware stuff we've got to work out. We've got scaling of some ranges and stuff we want to do.
Glenn, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, sure, always a pleasure.